have spent more than $2 billion on the greatest scientific gamble in history, and we have won.
In 1939, many small conflicts were starting to merge into one. Tensions between countries grew as they started to make alliances with each other. Totalitarianism, nationalism, fascism, and extreme anti-Semitism were on the rise among European countries, sparking the beginning of World War II. At the peak of the war, rumors spread that German Nazi leader, Adolf Hitler, was developing a nuclear bomb for the destruction of their enemies. At that point, Germany had already discovered fission, an essential part of understanding the nuclear bomb. When the US President Franklin D. Roosevelt learned this information, he propelled the creation of the bomb to defend his country and to obtain the nuclear weapon faster than Germany. FDR became concerned about Germany's rapid growth in technology and signed a project regarding the creation of nuclear weapons. In order to develop the nuclear bomb, scientists needed a safe and secure research facility to discover the potential and destruction of the bomb during detonation. Thus, Project Y, or the Los Alamos Laboratory, was a secret facility dedicated to helping advance and test the atomic bomb. Project Y provided scientists with the means to produce these nuclear weapons in a safe center away from the American population and enable the creation of the atomic bomb. This mission broke the barrier of safely testing and creating a bomb, and this allowed for a new form of warfare in the beginning of the nuclear era. When FDR signed the nuclear project into action, several agencies working for the Office of Scientific Research and Development based their research in New York and referred it to as the Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project was done in complete secrecy, unknown to the civilian population and even some government members. The U.S. government decided to keep the operation confidential to maintain the element of surprise. U.S. Army Colonel Leslie R. Groves, a commander, was appointed the head of the Manhattan Project by President Roosevelt. Under Colonel Groves, theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer was researching nuclear fission when he was named director of Project Y in 1943. Oppenheimer was far from qualified to work in nuclear science as he was a theoretical physicist. Many project members and leaders were in fact against having Oppenheimer as the head of Project Y due to his lack of experience in leadership. However, when Groves and Oppenheimer formed a strong friendship, Groves discovered Oppenheimer's potential and empowered him to work on this mission.
Having a person like Groves, an experienced big project leader, as his boss, forced him to grow into the position, and he did a magnificent job. I've never heard anybody question Oppenheimer's leadership capability at Los Alamos during the war. He grew into all those things that General Groves was. He was good at organization. He learned how to delegate.
With the help of Groves, Oppenheimer managed to command the Los Alamos Center, a subset of the Manhattan Project, where the first nuclear bombs were built and tested. Project Y was based in Los Alamos, New Mexico, and a remote testing center away from the human population. Keeping this project a secret was important because any leaked information could be used against the United States.
Have some place where they'd have the scientists together, scientists, engineers together, and be able to have them controlled so things wouldn't leak out, and they'd have better chance of maintaining security.
The United States government decreed this site to be perfect due to its ostensible isolation. In 1945, as a result of Project Y, the Trinity test marked the first successful atomic bomb detonation. This detonation began the atomic age, which continues on today. Scientists, engineers, and munition experts worked to develop the gadget, the first plutonium-based atomic explosive. Robert Oppenheimer was the lead figure in this further project. Often known as the father of the atomic bomb, Robert Oppenheimer grew up as a part of a progressive society that was based off on the American Judaism Reform Group, which placed an emphasis on social justice, civic responsibility, and secular humanism. His childhood prompted him to help with the development of the atomic bomb so that targeted Jewish people who were suffering under Hitler's rule could be saved and bring the war closer to its end. Oppenheimer was accepted by Max Born, a 1906 Nobel Prize winner and Harvard graduate, as a student and helped him chase his passion for theoretical physics. While studying with Born at Göttingen, they developed the Born-Oppenheimer method, which is an important contribution to the quantum molecular theory. By the time the Manhattan Project had been signed off, Oppenheimer was regarded as a bright theoretical physicist due to his contribution to quantum physics. Confident of his abilities, General Groves assigned him as a director of Project Y, which solely focused on perfecting the design and practicality of the atomic bomb. Oppenheimer and his team were able to work on the bomb due to the research facility provided to them. Previous to the creation of nuclear testing centers, atomic bombs were completely theoretical. The idea of splitting the nucleus of dormant elements to create an explosion was unfeasible. Many scientists around the world have speculated the possibility of nuclear fission but hadn't actually experimented to prove the theory. There was no place to generate a blueprint of the bomb, assemble it, and then eventually detonate it. The Los Alamos Center served as a perfect place for scientists to put their knowledge and passion for physics to use, seeing that a deserted land, spacious campus, and multifunctional laboratories enable structured collaboration between the researchers. Due to Project Y, there was an area for the atomic bomb to be tested and produced without endangering any of the citizens in the U.S. The Trinity test, a direct result of this testing site, the Los Alamos Center also led to more advanced research studies about the atomic bomb. The site consisted of research equipment and barren areas for testing. It was these physical aspects that allowed Los Alamos to be the perfect site for this mission. By providing the correct environment for design and research, engineers and scientists were able to execute the multiple processes needed to assemble a bomb. The masterminds on the project discerned that if they detonate the bomb in a populous city like Manhattan, many citizens would be jeopardized due to the explosion. There was also the possibility of revealing the project to the entire world, so they chose Los Alamos, which was in a secluded area. After a couple years of hard and grueling work at the site, the first atomic bomb, the Gadget, was detonated at Trinity site on July 16, 1945, becoming the first atomic bomb that was successfully created and tested. The Trinity test, or the blasting of the Gadget, marked the first tangible result of Project Y. With these advancements, the nuclear field and science in general expanded and led to many more nuclear creations in the future. By developing the atomic bomb, America ended a prolonged war that drained resources and killed millions of people. The US had a moral obligation to minimize the casualties of Americans and the Allies. Furthermore, the US was stable and lacked internal conflicts, which ensured that it would not abuse nuclear weapons and wipe out the entirety of humanity. If a country under turmoil had created the atomic bomb first, it would have been used for personal gain. The US was responsible to protect the human race from oppressing dictators. Due to the inevitability of the atomic bomb, it is best that it happened on these conditions by the Americans and during a war. If it was developed during a time of peace, it could have been launched in a country, causing another world conflict. More people would have died in this potential war and tensions would have grown. As a superpower, America had an ethical responsibility to create the nuclear bomb first and end the World War, since the conflict would have resulted in many more deaths. Due to Project Y, there was an area for the atomic bomb to be tested and produced without endangering any of the citizens in the U.S. The Trinity test, a direct result of this testing site, allowed the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki to be precise because the bomb was perfected, reducing the amount of collateral destruction. Soon after the construction and detonation of the atomic bomb, world leaders realized the potential atomic weapon, which pitted the world powers against one another in a scramble to get the most weapons in order to gain leverage against other nations. However, most of the consequences of the atomic bomb aren't its immediate effects, rather, its aftershock. Tons of civilians were killed by the atomic bomb, totaling up to at least 100,000 from both bombings. The bomb leveled both cities, leaving behind skeletons of cities that once were, a horror that would be seared into the world forever. The remnants of the two cities were eye-opening for the world leaders. Not only was the blast deadly, but the radiation leftovers from the blast increases the chance of cancer and chronic diseases in survivors drastically. This radiation takes more lives than the blast itself and often leaves survivors with lifelong pain and scars. Not long after the war, once many world powers obtained nuclear weapons, world leaders realized that using an atomic bomb will only result in the destruction of humanity from the sheer number of warheads. Nuclear warfare involved the launching of nuclear bombs at other countries, and they would completely destroy humanity as the deadly power of the bomb was already shown through Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This led to the ideology of mutually assured destruction, or an unspoken doctrine in which a full-scale nuclear attack will cause complete destruction and elimination of both the attacker and the defender. NHD discourages countries from firing bombs at each other, preventing full-scale nuclear war. In fact, like MAD, there are more positive outcomes of the atomic bomb than what is perceived. If the bomb was not made, more human lives would have been lost in the Battle of Japan because the US would have used a siege tactic to make Japan surrender. The atomic weapon allowed the Second World War to end quicker and in doing so, relieved the depleted world of long-lasting chaos. The creation of the nuclear bomb also led to an entire industry by discovering the potential of nuclear power. Some of these innovations included nuclear power plants, a way to improve energy consumption in a cleaner way. A new nuclear plant had not been constructed for 40 years now. With the knowledge and technology we have today, nuclear power could be used to make the world a cleaner place. Even though the bomb detonation cost many Japanese lives, the research conducted at the time can be used today to create a new wave of energy.
So we've learned more about safety of nuclear power, but I think nuclear power has a place in our future energy mix.